is ACE? Hi guys, permit me to have my laptop with me today because what I will be sharing is something that I was once invited to talk on, and I thought to share it with all of you guys because, well, you're family. Welcome to this month's episode of Psych and Poetry. I am your host, Niraj Rap. This month belongs to lovers, but we're not going to talk about love. Thank you. Have you ever heard of adverse childhood experiences? If not, stay till the end because we're going to define what ACEs are, look at the different types, how they can affect a person, and if there are solutions, what are those solutions? To define anything, I've always learned right from my primary school that you always extract the words that make up the word. Anyways, in this case, we have adverse, we have childhood, and we have experiences. What is adverse? It's something that is unfavorable, hostile, extremely negative, opposite to one's welfare or interests. Basically, anything that is bad, extreme, terrible, horrible. Okay, you guys get the gist. Childhood is the duration between infancy and early stage of development, basically 0 to 17 years. But in Nigeria, 18 doesn't technically mean you're an adult, so calm down. While experience refers to personal encounters that leave impact, observation, or involvement in an activity or event. Basically, whatever you have observed for yourself, felt for yourself, know firsthand is your experience. Now, putting those words individually together, ACEs simply refer to traumatic, stressful events which occur before the age of 18, which could have long-term effects on our health, be it mental, physically, or otherwise. Now, what are the different types of ACEs? Abuse, neglect, and dysfunctional home. If you've experienced being abused as a child, whether extreme beating, unnecessarily slapping you, hitting you, extreme punishment, even insults. Neglect has to do with the lack of provision, especially of your basic needs like no food, no water, no clothes, no school fees sometimes. For those who actually did go to school, you're always being sent away for fees. You always don't have what to eat. Your uniforms are always tattered. You're not cared for properly. That is an adverse childhood experience. I'm sure by now you're probably thinking back and you're seeing how you probably have experienced this. Dysfunctional household refers to abnormal house living. For example, when you lose parents, obviously being an orphan is going to be an extreme experience for you. Or worse, when you actually do have your parents, but one of them or all of them are in prison, incarcerated. Or when there's a history of mental illness or substance abuse in the house, or even domestic violence. Imagine growing up as a child and seeing your father beat up your mother all the time or yell at her, or your mother being disrespectful all the time to your father, shouting at him and saying things that are inappropriate for a child's ears. A little diversion to statistics. Globally, about 60% of adults report that they have experienced one or many adverse childhood experiences. I'm sure with my definition now, you might have been thinking back and actually see that you've experienced one or more than one ACE before the age of 18. So in what ways can ACE affect an individual? We can look at it from the standpoint of your mental health, your physical health, your daily functioning, and even leading to unhealthy behaviors and lifestyle. ACE can cause you to be anxious, to have PTSD, because that was an adverse and traumatic experience you had as a child. So of course you would most likely have PTSD, be it mild or severe. It can lead to panic attacks, especially if you had a dysfunctional home where you always saw violence. Yeah. And the most saddest thing is it can lead you to having low self-esteem. You have a low self-image. You see yourself as someone who is not worth being loved or cared for because, well, you grew up in a house that neglected you. Stress. It can cause a lot of stress and it can lead to physical damages, like you could be at risk for heart disease, chronic pain, memory issues, because then you have poor brain development. It's a whole thing, guys. You can go on to have very toxic relationships. You can hurt yourself. You could mismanage your resources or even fall into being a dysfunctional person yourself because you grew up seeing a family that abused substance. You most likely fall into that. Basically, it leads to a generational cycle of toxic and unhealthy behavior. And if you're still young and in school, it could affect your concentration in school. If you're working, it could affect your productivity at work. It could affect your sleep pattern, affect how you handle responsibilities generally. So now we've mentioned all the problems, all the things that we think went wrong. Now, what is the way forward? Is there a solution? What can we do? As psychologists, we would advise for therapy, for support systems, community involvement, healthy lifestyle. So having friends, family members that are good role models to you, that are good support system, healthy support system is advised. Therapy too can help, be it cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, counseling, trauma-informed care, or you just simply talk to someone who can listen and actually help. You eat properly, you have a positive mindset, you're not self-sabotaging, you're not thinking I'm not worth it, you're not harming yourself. You are exercising, meditating. It might not be those very things, but whatever works for you. It could be music, self-care, as simple as taking your bath, really. Whatever form of creativity, sometimes even listening to this podcast could be of help, right? And you could do other creative activities, play games like Ludo, words, chess, video games, whatever game that is healthy enough for you. Drawing, painting, singing. And now for our communities, I would advise that our culture becomes a bit more open to accommodate victims of ACEs, where we can pay attention to their trauma, to their pain, relate with them, and give them space to learn, to unlearn, to grow. And for children, we can have fun activities. I remember in school, we'll go for excursions. There are times that we'll go to extracurricular activities, things like going to the park, to the museum, going by the waterside, whatever it is that is calm and relaxing, even film shows, cultural days, or camping. All of this could really help. Now, I would like to leave you with a call to action. I want you, first of all, to know that ACE is not a death sentence. For yourself, do not be afraid to seek help, to pray, to prioritize your health, and to remain positive-minded. And if you have not experienced an ACE, congratulations. But here's what you can do for others. You can encourage them. You can be kind to them. You can help facilitate their growth. And you can be supportive in the various ways that you can. Listening, financially even. Just be supportive and kind. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to today's episode of Psych and Poetry. I'm so glad that we got to do this month. I'm looking forward to next month's episode with you. Also, Psych and Poetry is 2 this year. And details for the event to celebrate is on the flyer. Please do like, share, comment, and subscribe. Do enjoy the poem that comes after this. Thanks. Ciao.
She was but of a lowly birth, raised in mediocrity. Silence and obedience was required of her. She labored, but not for her future. Endurance was demanded of her for the pleasure of others. She wept, not for her kin, but for what fate had dealt her. At dawn, he came forth into fortune. His birth was blissful. He was wrapped in fine linen and remained warm. He knew not thirst nor hunger. In fact, he knew not the life outside his. His was blissful ignorance. However, there remains a price to pay for not knowing. She toiled for her daily bread. He chose his daily bread. She was weary. He was drunk. She was in bondage. He was burdened. She was hopeful. He was ignorant. They both imagined a life apart from the one they were given. Who was to blame? One born a servant, another the master. One made to stay silent, the other to make decrees, and yet both desire freedom, one from the servitude and the other from the burdens of leadership. Who is to blame?